Okay, this is a short how-to recording about creating a trace file and comments for a report. So what I'm going to do here is go through that whole process, and of course the usual rubric is watch some, pause, take notes, and do that, and then repeat. And we're going to pause a number of different places, actually with a pause picture in this, for you to go ahead and do that. So this is not a video on how to install Wireshark, so the presumption is you've already watched that video and installed it and run it and ran it and have it operational. So this is just the process of creating a trace file and depending on the lab job that you're given to do for a particular week, uh, finding what you're supposed to be looking for, maybe following a TCP stream, identifying interesting packets, creating packets, and then saving out only the commented packets as a file that you can name properly and attach to Blackboard. So that's what we're covering here. So the steps you're going to follow typically are closing all applications you don't need so as not to generate unnecessary traffic to wade through, running Wireshark and either following the directions of the lab to capture traffic or maybe to generate traffic that you're going to capture, and then stop Wireshark and then save that trace so that all of the packets you've captured so far are saved and you can't accidentally ruin the work you've done so far when you go to the next step of looking for interesting traffic. So let's do that right now. I'm going to quit a couple of applications here, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up Wireshark. Now, I had created a video of this previously, but it was with a version of Wireshark that was had been around for a while, so the interface look and feel was significantly different from the 2.0. So here's the basic Wireshark 2.0 interface. And I can see by the trace line here that I'm seeing traffic already on my network interface, and I'm going to start capturing some of that traffic. Now, one of the things that you might be asked to do normally in Wireshark is to in a lab is to go to a particular website, and I'm going to go to QWERTY.com here. And it also will likely be the case that you may be asked to generate some traffic yourself. Like here, I've got a command line window open, and I'm going to generate some ICMP packets by pinging Apple. Not getting any, not getting any reply there. Not unusual and good security practice for sites to not respond to ICMP. But we could do trace route to, there we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and stop this at this point. And now, so I've generated a couple different kinds of traffic here, and I'll go over to Wireshark. I'm going to stop that, and then I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I think I'm going to call this Gondor Test All, and I'm going to save that on the desktop. So I've saved all the packets that I captured, and let's see, let me move this up into the window here. So I captured 5,524 packets. Now, depending on the lab, the job that you're supposed to do for your lab, we might be looking for a particular thing. We might be looking for particular kinds of packets in order to answer the questions or solve the problem that the lab has set for us. And then when we find the packets that are the answer to the question or are the ones that we're looking for, we're going to create comments for those packets. So let's go ahead and go back to my Wireshark trace here, and there's several different ways in which we might look for packets. One of those would be if we scroll up and down, you'll see and I can actually click in the middle of this special scroll section here, which is colored like the coloring. We're going to talk about coloring rules later. So different kinds of packets are colored differently according to the coloring rules that are currently in effect. You'll learn to create your own sets of coloring rules. So that would be one way that I could identify packets I might be looking for, say UDP packets. Another way would be to just create a display filter or by typing in the protocol type of what I'm looking for, like DNS. If I'm supposed to look for DNS packets, then by typing in that completely, notice that if I start to type, Wireshark doesn't recognize that as a valid filter syntax, so it shows red. And as I start to type, Wireshark actually automatically pops up a list of things that it knows as valid syntax that I could choose from. So I could actually just choose DNS and not have to type the rest of it. Now that it's correct syntax, it shows green, and I can click the arrow to apply to that, and then I'll see only those packets that relate to that display filter. So then, say for instance, I'm supposed to find a DNS query for QWERTY.com. I've found that. Now's the process of creating a comment. I right click on that packet, choose packet comment, and then I can type in, what about this? Here's the DNS query for QWERTY.com. Now notice suddenly there's a green field down here in the packet details window that was not there before, because we've actually added a new field to the metadata for this trace file, indicating a comment that's attached to this one particular packet. Now there's a couple different ways. Maybe I'm also supposed to find the response. Well, actually the response was right after that, so I can find that and right click and make a comment. Here's the response for QWERTY.com, and that one now also has a green packet comment field associated with it. I'm going to click the X and get rid of that filter. Now we're back to everything. I'm going to type in here HTT, and again Wireshark pops up things that it knows that could complete that typing, HTTP, and apply it by clicking on the arrow on the right hand side. And now I can see all the HTTP traffic that's contained inside this trace file. So maybe one of the questions that we're answering here is to find GET packets. Actually, so there's some here that are not GET packets. I could actually trace more directly right down to only the GET packets by opening up here, and here's a request method, GET. So how about I right click on that and apply that as a filter. Now I could have remembered the syntax to http.request.method equals right parenthesis get end parenthesis, but this is a quick and dirty way of getting that. So now I have just the get packets, and if the request for our lab was to find some get packets of a particular kind, say the installation guide, now I can right click on that, get packet for, and I'm just going to type some junk in there and make a copy of it. So there we go, and then we're asked to find a couple others, and I'm just going to create a couple more comments here. So whatever it is that you're supposed to be looking for, you can create a comment for it, and then there we go. Well, okay, so now what do I do? Well, what I want to get from you in an attachment is not the 5,524 packets that were all the ones that were captured, but let's just go ahead and right click on this comments field and say apply it as a filter. So the filter in correct syntax is pkt_comment, And now what do I see? Instead of 5,524 packets, I see only the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 packets for which I've created comments. And I can see those comments if I go up here, and you can't see it here, the Analyze or the Statistics menu. I can look at, right, in the Analyze menu, let me look at Expert Information. And in Expert Information, I will see those comments. That's one of the places I can see the comments. But the next step in what we're going to do here is I've created some comments. Now I want to save out only the commented packets into a separate file. So let's go ahead and do that. I right-clicked on the field Packet Comments. I used it as a filter. Now I have these. Now I can go back up to the File menu here and say Export Specified Packets. A little hard to see because the upper File menu actually is sort of off the screen here, but top left, File, Export Specified Packets. Now I have the dialog box where we're going to save this as PCAPNG, the standard current file format that includes whatever metadata I might have added to this file. I have a place I'm going to save it. I'm going to give it Gondar, say week 1 packet comments. And I'm saving all of the packets that are currently displayed. So all packets is clicked, and displayed packets is clicked. So not 5,524, but only 5, which is great. So then when I get these, I can look at them and I can grade your response to what it was you were supposed to find, or your understanding the reason for this operating this way, or you're finding something you were looking for that was supposed to answer a certain question. Well, now the last step is going ahead and attaching that to a Blackboard report. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to Blackboard, and I'm going to log in here. Let's see. There we go. And I'm going to go to the discussion board, and there's going to be either a cyber cafe or in this case a practice room. And so I can create a new thread in the practice room, and I can call that Gondar practice. And here is where my report would go about whatever the lab was. And then I'd create an attachment. I'm going to browse my computer for that attachment, and that's going to be the Gondar Week 1 Packet Comments, PKNG. And I can go ahead, and if I wasn't done yet, I could save the draft, or I'm all done, so let me go ahead and click Submit. And now I see my post here. Now the last part of it is that I want to go ahead and double check that. So I'm going to go ahead and save that file out here. And now I want to open it up, and I want to, let's go ahead and open this up here. And I'm going to double check that it didn't get broken on the way to Blackboard, didn't get broken on the way down. So this is exactly what the teacher will see, and that's what I intended. And like for any of these forums, if I suddenly discover that the report that I put in was incorrect in some way, or the packet comments didn't work, I can simply reply to myself, and I can put in a version 2.0 or attach the correct file if I forgot it in the first place. And that's fine. No harm, no foul. So actually I'm seeing as I went through here, I got so excited in going through this, I forgot to insert some pauses in here. So you're going to have to know yourself when you're going along and you see me do something, and if you're not sure and you want to wait, hit pause yourself and then come back to the recording. And then, of course, the reason for having this recording separate from a lecture is this process is going to be used a number of different times in a number of different places. The process of grabbing your file and then finding what it is you're interested in, creating the comments, and saving that out. So if you need to re-up on any details of any of the how-to stuff, then it's easy to come back, and there's a pretty short video on how to go ahead and do that one particular task. You don't have to try to find where it was in which demo on which week I actually demonstrated that task. So there you go. We learned how to set up Wireshark, get it going, and generate some traffic or capture some traffic, and then find the stuff in it that we were looking for, isolate those packets and create comments. Then isolate only the commented packets and save that out properly as a small file to be attached to Blackboard. So there you go. Enjoy, and if you need to come back to this to check how to do something, it's going to be right there in the how-to videos.